go anywhere, but I saw a couple of things in the computer. It's not so simple. The celebration of Yom Ha'atsmaut, this Yom Ha'atsmaut is like with mixed feelings.
It was like that here as well. I think everywhere.
So now why I can't see everybody?
You
Only
must go to the top
only,
where it
only
says view.
half faces. Lama?
At the top on the right-hand side, it says view.
No, the half faces is because they're sitting, the angle of their screens is not good. Brian,
Yeah.
tip your screen forward and
Yeah, need to have fairly. Why can't I see
it's
faces?
not the rope's problem.
Because this meeting is being recorded. Okay, and now you can see them now. Nakon?
Okay, this better.
Thanks, Philly.
Okay, so after Yom Ha'atzmaut, we hope that it will be a really independence. In the meantime, unfortunately, we don't see independence. America tells what to do, and we need to pray and hope. As people who believe, we know that everything is being done and planned by Hashem. So we have to hope that it will really become Atzmaut. I just say, I told people today that the youngsters, I'm talking about youngsters in the religious group, they don't understand the value or the importance of this day. I was 10 years old when the state of Israel was declared as a state. I remember the child, but before that, I remember what, as a child, are the problems that the people here in Israel suffered. In the beginning was Englishmen, that are the English soldiers came to search. I remember that at the time, because Haganah and the other groups, Lehi, Etzel, they actually used to fight them and cause them tzores. So from time to time, they used to declare a strike. Nobody can leave the house, and they went to search for weapons from flat to flat. So I remember once my late father was sick, he was in bed, and came the two English soldiers, and were brutal. Say, get up from the bed. They wanted to make sure that there is no weapon hidden under the bed. So this it was they dealt like they are dealing with not with human beings. So to know what happened 76 years ago, we understand with all the problems, obviously, that Israel had at the moment with the Arabs, with the terrorists and everything, but at least it is our home. I wrote, I don't remember how many years ago, I've got the article, was in South Africa, a Hebrew, what do you call it, magazine that people wrote in, and I wrote an article there about Yom Ha'atzmaut. That year it was in Parashat Metzorah, and I remember actually want to find it where I hope to have it, that it says in the parasha, when it's coming to speak about the law of leprosy, the story starts, the Torah, Hashem says, you're coming to the land and I will have or made some plagues. There in all the laws of plagues how to you become impure, etc., etc. Rashi, a rabbi said, when he said, you're coming to the land, Psora Tova, they've got good news. So I remember I said, what good news? That HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells that you'll have plagues. What kind of good news? So I said, wrote that Bnei Israel for 40 years were in a desert, in wandering from one place to another. Now they're coming to Israel. So Hashem said, now you're coming to Israel and you have plagues. So Psora Tova, it's a good tidings. You're coming to a land to settle. When you compare to the wandering that you had, now you come to settle to your own place, you have plagues, you have to deal with it. And I wrote this, the idea was, we, Bnei Israel, for 2,000 years, we are in exile, wandering from one place to another. And now, in 1948, we came to our own land and declared the state. Psora Tova, it's a good news. Although there are troubles, problems, diseases, so we have to deal with it. But the very fact that after so many years of Golus, being in exile, we've got our own home, this is a good tiding. So let us hope that although that at the moment Israel is struggling very, very serious problems, but we hope and pray that like we manage to survive and eventually to come out, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will help us to do the same now. That and more and more, that we will come to the full redemption with the coming of the Mashiach, of the Messiah. Okay. We started last week.
Can you just move your camera a little bit so that your face is higher in the screen?
Is that better? Hello? Beverly, who is it? She made a no.
Rob, just a little higher, maybe just a little higher.
What, higher?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't see your
That's
chin.
better, much better, much better.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect, perfect.
Thank you.
you don't have to see me, you have to hear. I hope the voice coming.
But you can't hear if you can't. You hear better if you can see.
Okay. So last week we spoke a little bit about the book, the author, the aim which was written, that yeah. So now we are going to start with the help of God to go into this book. I must confess that actually I didn't have in my lifetime an opportunity to study the book of Mishlei properly with commentaries and so on. So in your schus, I will also learn something which I didn't know. So we start with the first few psukim, the first few verses are, we can look at it as introduction to the book, starting with Mishlei Shlomo ben David Melech Israel. I don't know if you've got the English text or Hebrew text. Have you got? Braina, you see you've got? What you've got English Bible? Okay. So I will try and help with the translation. I've got a text of translation. In fact, Beverly sent me taking from the computer. You can take it yourself, a la Torah, from what do you call it? And yeah. So there is, you can see, but it's not translated, only the verse themselves. So let us see how it goes. It gives us an introduction. Who is the book that was written by? Mishlei, what is the Mishlei? Proverbs of Shlomo, the son of David, king of Israel. So it gives us the name of the writer, the Shlomo, and it's written the book here mainly in a way of proverbs. So what is a proverb? You've got a moshel, you give a certain idea by setting as an example or a proverb, which actually represents a deeper idea. For instance, Rashi brings, there is one verse later talking about a woman that if she is to show a negativity, if she's a harlot. So this is an example which want to say she is compared to idolatry. Shlomo Melech want to compare this, as you understand how herald is something negative, so idolatry is the same idea. And who is Shlomo? He says he's the son of David. His iches that he was a son of King David. We didn't know about King Solomon, about what does he know. Okay, we know the history of King Solomon. He became a king. We know there are certain stories. I think I quoted last time his wisdom. I managed to judge a couple of things with wisdom. I became famous in the world that even kings or rulers from the area came to consult him. But we said to, he now comes to give us this book, which you'll see in a moment, to give us wisdom and arachim and values. On what basis? What do we know about him? About his wisdom to give certain ideas, values, philosophy. And so he says, the Pasuk says, he was a son of David, of King David. King David already we know him before. We know King David is, he compiled the book of Tehillim, Psalms, so we know his connection with the HaKadosh Baruch Hu, with God. So this is like giving us an introduction about Shlomo, and not only that that he was a son of King David, but he's also a king of Israel. Can mean that King David was the king of Israel, and he also is a king of Israel. So this tells us about the piety of King Solomon, that probably he followed his father's ways. And so he was a wise man, and he's the son of a wise man, and they, as wise men, both of them, they ruled over Israel, who were wise people.
Rabbi, who was older, Absalom or Solomon?
It is ascribed to King Solomon. He was the one that wrote the book.
Yes, but who was the older, Solomon or Absalom?
King David was the father, Solomon was his son.
So was Absalom.
Yeah.
He's asking about Avshalom. Who was older, Avshalom or Shlomo?
Avshalom was a brother of Solomon. He had from two wives.
Older or younger than Solomon?
I think that I don't remember what was the age between two of them. But I imagine that Absalom was older, and therefore was a little bit of jealousy that Solomon was the one that was chosen by King David to take over the kingdom after his death. And we spoke about last time that King Solomon, there are three books which are ascribed to be his creation: Mishlei, Proverbs. The other one is shiur, Song of Songs. And the third one is Kohelet. And I mentioned that there, of course, each of them has got different contents and different messages. There are some different of opinions when the King Solomon wrote these books, when he was young, older, or when he came old age. So the way that I like, the opinions say that when he was young, he wrote Shir HaShirim, Song of Songs. Song of Songs speaks about the relationship with the Jewish people and God, but again, also in a way of taking a model, talking about a description between a lover and a woman. It's God is being the man, so to speak, and Am Israel are the woman. So this is Shir HaShirim, the description that Shlomo Melech tried to explain or to put through how was the connection between Israel and God. The Shir HaShirim, and therefore I say it really befitted when a person is young, speaking about love between men and women. Then, when he became older, he wrote this book, Mishlei. It got more understanding and insight in life. Kohelet, he wrote when he became aged, because Kohelet is more expressing disappointment and like, so to speak, that after he saw life, that he comes to say, no, Avel Avalim is nothing, and so on, very pessimistic. Okay, so we said what is here, because it's related to a wise man that we can learn from his wisdom. And what he wrote, what is the purpose of writing the book? לדעת חוכמה ומוסר, להבין אמרי בינה, to know wisdom and discipline, to comprehend words of understanding. So, to choose, that a person should choose a way of a personal qualification to do it wisely, because you can have situations that can be positive and negative. For instance, a person can be presented with two possibilities: to be humble, or to be, I forgot my English completely. I told you, I forgot now my Hebrew that I knew, so I forgot in South Africa. I knew English. Now I forget.
The
I
word is
forgot
haughty,
English and
Arav.
Hebrew.
Haughty.
Haughtiness.
Haughty.
A person can be, yet everyone in life, you can sometimes got feeling, you feel yourself great, haughty, or you can feel humble and so low. And the question is, you have to be able to discern what to pick, because there are certain times that that is important that you should feel haughty and not humble. And this is, you need wisdom. For instance, the commentary said, let's say if you have to deal like sometimes to take a strong stand in leadership, in kingdom, or in judgment, or whatever, you can't just play humility. You have to show strength. You're standing on a point, and it can look like or seem as haughtiness. So you need to have wisdom when you use what. And for this, you need to say wisdom and discipline and understanding. Understanding, it says, להבין אמרי בינה, לאמרי בינה, understanding sometimes. So you need, as I said, wisdom, what is positive, what is negative, when to use what. For this, you have to be wise. And you need to have and this is actually the whole purpose, to show us how the way of Torah that directs us, who guides us, can guide us how to be able to select between all kinds of dilemmas that we had. And this is what said about discipline, and this is where the Torah can teach us. And Imrei Bina, Bina is here, the English translation is understanding, but Bina makes more than this. The understanding I'll write to you what the Vilna Gaon wrote a commentary on this book. And the way that he put it, to comprehend the words of understanding, if one disciplines himself to combat his lust and his evil inclination, he must do so according to the dictates of the Torah. He may not mortify himself by fasting all week, including the Shabbat or alike. In other words, the Vilna Gaon said another example. I said about humble humility and haughtiness. Sometimes you have to know when and in which situation to act as humble or not. Now also talking about in a person has got inclination, lust, he wants to eat, to do a lot of other things and so on. This is one side. And the other side, the person now is going to put the other extreme. He's fasting, he's not having anything to do with this world. And so much so, as a Goin writes, he fasts even on Shabbos because so much he wants to go the other extreme. Again, you need to have a wisdom. What is right? Don't to be what do you say? To have lust and to control yourself. On the other hand, don't put yourself on the other extreme, like you fasting or do things that to the other extreme. This is not good. Then continues to the third verse. לקחת מוסר השכל, צדק ומשפט ומישרים. To receive the discipline of wisdom, righteousness, and equity. So when you to be able to guide, and talking about here very much as an educator, how to educate, we'll come to it, how to educate youngsters and so on. So you have to use wisdom, and when coming as a king, when it can mean not only the king, but especially somebody that is a king or a judge or whatever, it has to be with righteousness. You have to, you can't judge unless it is truth and right. And and it has to be smooth and straight, Rashi and straight. Sometimes when you are sometimes, wait a second.
Rav, we've only got 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, just a minute. In the meantime, something came and closed the. So there is something, especially in judgment. They said that you have to make time. You can't take extremes. You have to be to take a middle road. This will mean meisharim, equity. To take a middle road, and sometimes not that it in fact very much recommended to bedding, to when you've got like two people who have got a case, one against the other. So we prefer that according to our law, if the judge, and I know that it's not so popular among the civil court. People want to know who is right or who is wrong. We are taught the best if the judge can make a compromise to bring them to an agreement, rather to a you are right, you are wrong, if by finding a way that he can make a compromise between the two sides, this is very much recommended. This is because, why? Because if you make the judgment, you are right, you are wrong, you leave the two people to hate each other because the one this guy feels that he was done wrongly, he will remain an enemy to the person. Our attitude is try to bring peace rather to bring animosity. So this which comes when he says tzedek umishpat, it should be tzedek. Sometimes you have to go as a judgment to go to true judgment.